I'm a police officer in Central California. I've been on the force since I was 29. It's been quite the ride, but let me tell you, it's not all action-packed like in the movies. Most days, things are pretty quiet in my small town. We deal with the occasional noise complaint or petty theft, with a rare serious incident thrown in the mix. I've worked every shift imaginable, from the crack of dawn to the dead of night. But one fateful evening, while patrolling the outskirts of our town, things took an eerie turn. I was cruising down a desolate road, surrounded by vast farmlands on both sides. The moon cast an eerie glow, painting the landscape in shades of silver. Suddenly, my attention was caught by the glimmering headlights reflecting from a dirt road on the right. As I drew nearer, I noticed a peculiar sight. The driver's side door of the car was wide open. Instinctively, I veered off the road, my heart racing, and came to a halt. My mind was flooded with thoughts of offering assistance to whoever might be in need. But as I approached the vehicle, something caught my eye. There, lying on the ground, was a worn-out leather jacket. It seemed out of place, as if someone had hastily discarded it. A shiver ran down my spine as I heard rustling in the nearby bushes. Gripping my flashlight tightly, I cautiously made my way towards the sound. The night air was thick with an eerie silence, broken only by the sound of my own footsteps. My senses were on high alert, every nerve tingling with anticipation. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows and darted into the cover of the dense woods. Adrenaline surged through my veins as I radioed for backup, informing them of the suspicious person evading capture. With my flashlight piercing through the darkness, I followed the trail into the labyrinth of trees. As I ventured deeper into the woods, the air grew heavy with an unsettling smell, a mixture of damp earth and decay. It sent a chill down my spine, but I pressed on. Leaves crunched beneath my boots as I navigated the treacherous terrain. My grip tightened around the handle of my holstered weapon, ready for whatever lay ahead. A faint glow beckoned me forward, a flickering light illuminating a clearing up ahead. Cautiously, I approached the source, and what I discovered left me frozen in shock. In the midst of the clearing, a makeshift campsite sprawled out, a tattered tent, an abandoned campfire, and an assortment of mysterious objects strewn about. With every step, a feeling of unease consumed me. Something was amiss. The hair on the back of my neck stood on end as a sinister realization washed over me. This wasn't just an ordinary disturbance or a random encounter, it was the aftermath of something more sinister. Drawing a deep breath, I continued my search. A glimmer of light caught my eye, a flash of metal nestled among the leaves. With trembling hands, I retrieved the object, revealing a blood-stained knife. The blade told a grim tale, its sharpness stained with crimson evidence. As I turned to leave the chilling scene, a low whisper echoed through the trees. It was a voice, distant yet hauntingly clear. It spoke words that sent a chill down my spine, a cryptic message that seemed to linger in the night air. Startled, I retreated, my senses on high alert. Radioing for further assistance, I relayed the unsettling discoveries I had made. The eerie silence that followed my transmission heightened the weight of the situation, the gravity of the unknown. Investigations ensued, forensic teams meticulously combing the woods for any trace of the elusive figure. Days turned into weeks, but the mysterious individual seemed to vanish into thin air, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a sense of unease that lingered in the community. The abandoned car, devoid of identification, remained an enigma. Fingerprints were analyzed, DNA tests conducted, yet no matches were found in the databases. The case grew colder with each passing day, an unsolved puzzle that haunted my thoughts. Years have gone by, and the events of that night remain etched in my memory. The tale of the deserted car, the elusive figure, and the cryptic whispers still circulate among the locals, leaving them wary of the hidden shadows that lurk in the depths of those woods. The truth may forever elude us, but the echoes of that night continue to haunt our town, a reminder that some mysteries are destined to remain unsolved. My partner, Officer Thompson, and I are part of a special unit in the Sheriff's Department that handles monitoring individuals with ankle tethers. One night, while tracking down a person who had absconded from the program, we followed their last known location to a shady area in our county. Little did we know that this particular stop would be far from routine. It would plunge us into an unsettling series of events. As we arrived at the address, Officer Thompson took the lead and approached the front door, while I positioned myself at the side of the house, ensuring no one could escape without detection. When he knocked, we heard movement from inside, and the door slowly creaked open. To my surprise, a middle-aged woman peered out, her gaze fixated directly on me. It sent a chill down my spine because there was no way she could have known my location. I was out of sight from any windows at the front or side of the house. What made it even stranger was that most people would typically answer the person at the front door rather than immediately looking towards the side. Despite the oddity, the woman reluctantly let us in when we asked if she knew the whereabouts of Camille, the person we were searching for. She muttered something about Camille being there, her behavior hinting at underlying mental health issues. Things escalated rapidly from that point on. The woman dropped to her hands and knees, crawling on the floor and calling out for Camille. It was evident that she relied on Camille's presence as a caregiver or companion. While Officer Thompson and I were aware that the situation was far from ordinary, we proceeded with our search of the house. Throughout the search, the woman continued to crawl behind us, never regaining her footing, only emitting cries for Camille. The time was around 8 p.m., and darkness enveloped the outside. Inside the house, only one light illuminated the rooms. Surprisingly, there were no TVs or electronic devices to be found. The entire house exuded an unsettling atmosphere, and its layout seemed peculiar. It had 4 bedrooms and 2 floors, yet whenever I left a room, it felt as if I had entered a part of the house I hadn't been in before, as if I had stumbled into a strange dimension. The woman, eerily silent, would sometimes appear right behind me, as if materializing out of thin air. Doubts began to creep into my mind. How was any of this possible? How was the woman able to move so silently and seemingly defy the laws of space and time? With every step, the house's enigma deepened. At one point, Officer Thompson and I ascended the stairs, expecting to find more bedrooms or perhaps a bathroom. However, as we tried to open the door at the top of the stairs, it resisted, as if it had been sealed shut, with dried paint seeping into the door's seams. We exerted extra force, and finally, the door swung open, revealing not bedrooms, but an attic covered in layers of insulation. It felt reminiscent of the chilling scene from Paranormal Activity, with nothing but storage space, insulation, and an archaic light bulb dangling from a string. Meanwhile, the woman sat at the bottom of the stairs, observing our every move, intermittently shouting for Camille. After what felt like an eternity of searching the house, retracing our steps into rooms we swore we had just left, we decided to call off the search and clear the property. As we drove away, I couldn't shake the disturbing image of the woman standing right in front of the door, her unwavering gaze fixed upon us as we left. According to our dispatch logs, we were only at the house for about 20 minutes. However, it felt like we had spent well over an hour or 2 trapped in a disorienting maze of uncertainty. The whole experience left me unnerved, unable to determine which aspect was more unsettling: the late night hour, the woman's haunting calls and crawling, her inexplicable ability to sneak up on me, or her silent vigil at the door as we departed. Since that night, Officer Thompson and I have not returned to that house, the enigmatic puzzle forever etched in our memories, serving as a chilling reminder of the inexplicable and the eerie unknown that exists within the shadows of our world. My family and I resided in a quiet town nestled in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains. Stories rarely emerged from this secluded area, and the one I'm about to share only solidified our gratitude for the lack of such tales. My cousin, whom we affectionately called Jack, had been a police officer for 5 years. When he first joined the force, he had an earnest desire to make a difference and uplift the lives of those in our community. However, one incident would forever haunt him and test his resolve. It began with a distress call from a house situated between the towns of Dalton and Blue Ridge. The house had long been considered abandoned, a place that time had forgotten. Upon arrival, Jack and his partner were taken aback to find an elderly man sitting on the front steps, his hands buried deep in his pockets. What struck them was the man's uncontrollable weeping, more like deep sobs, as he muttered about the unbearable tragedy within. Their attempts to communicate with the man proved futile, as he seemed unable to form coherent sentences. It became clear within moments that he had undergone severe emotional trauma. While Jack's partner called for additional backup, Jack made the decision to enter the house, his heart pounding with a mix of trepidation and duty. The stench that assailed Jack as he stepped inside was overpowering, a sickening blend of decay and filth. He recounted to me the state of the kitchen and living room, both reduced to chaos. The owners of the house had evidently been hoarders, with pots and pans stacked nearly to the ceiling, spoiled food littering the table, and takeout containers strewn across the floor. It was a scene of repulsion and neglect. Following standard procedure, Jack called out, hoping for a response. Yet, the house remained shrouded in an eerie silence. With his gun gripped tightly in his hands, Jack ventured into the living room, finding it empty. The scent grew increasingly pungent as he made his way down the hall, where the smell became almost unbearable. Summoning all his courage, Jack covered his mouth and nose, steeling himself as he cautiously opened the door to what he believed to be the bedroom. What awaited him there would forever torment his psyche. In the bed lay two lifeless bodies, their skin gray and infested with flies. Decay had already begun to ravage their faces, and the relentless insects flitted in and out of their mouths, even daring to settle on their vacant eyeballs. As Jack inspected the female corpse, horror washed over him when he noticed that she held in her lifeless arms a smaller, equally lifeless body, a tragic infant. His gut churned as a large cockroach emerged from the tiny mouth of the deceased baby, triggering a visceral reaction. Jack stumbled out of the house, collapsing on the very steps where the weeping man had been sitting. Finally, when the additional units arrived, they conducted a thorough investigation. It was discovered that the weeping man had been a former colleague and friend of the deceased couple. They had all worked together at a local peach packing company. Concerned by their extended absence, the man had gone to check on them, unknowingly stumbling upon the devastating scene within the bedroom. Piecing together the shattered fragments of their lives, authorities deduced that the husband and wife had fallen into the clutches of opioid addiction. Following a surgical procedure, their reliance on painkillers spiraled out of control, leading them down a dark path of heroin abuse. Tragically, their neglected daughter, just a mere toddler, had succumbed to their neglect. Confronted with the unbearable weight of their baby's lifeless form, the couple's anguish had reached its breaking point. They made the fateful decision to end their lives. The coroner's report revealed lethal levels of heroin in their bodies, enough to kill them twice over. Jack remained on the police force, but the experience took its toll. He turned to alcohol as a temporary refuge, struggling to cope with the nightmares that plagued him. Through therapy and sheer determination, he managed to regain control over his drinking. Yet, to this day, whenever we speak, he confides in me that he still dreams of the haunting image of that innocent child's lifeless body, forever crying out for justice in the depths of his subconscious. I once received a distressing call regarding a potential break-in. A young woman, living alone, had dialed 911 in fear. She explained that upon returning home, she discovered a shattered window downstairs. Oddly, nothing appeared to be stolen, but she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was inside. As she made her way upstairs to her bedroom, she claimed to have heard faint footsteps downstairs. Unfortunately, her call abruptly disconnected, and subsequent attempts to reach her went unanswered. Taking the call, I promptly arrived at the small house. Knocking on the front door yielded no response, even after several attempts and ringing the doorbell. Concerned for the woman's safety, I made the decision to investigate further. As I circled the house, I located the broken window, a conspicuous entry point. Deciding not to wait idly, I informed dispatch that I was entering the house through the window, while additional officers were en route. Carefully, I climbed through the shattered glass and found myself in the dimly lit kitchen. My gun drawn, I proceeded cautiously, my boots crunching on broken glass. Announcing my presence as a police officer, I called out into the silence of the house, hoping to alert anyone inside. However, no response reached my ears. Undeterred, I ascended the stairs, mindful of the woman's report of hearing footsteps downstairs. If there was an intruder, it was crucial to ensure the woman's safety. Ascending the stairs with a mix of caution and urgency, I reached the bedroom where she had been when she made the call. There, sitting up in bed, was the woman, partially hidden beneath the covers. She gazed at me, her voice trembling as I inquired about her well-being. Though the room remained dim, allowing only the moonlight to cast a soft glow, I detected distress etched upon her face. I informed her that I was responding to her call and questioned why she had hung up and failed to answer the callbacks. Her response, stuttered and fearful, was a simple denial. "No one is here." Recognizing the gravity of the situation, I discreetly nodded my head towards the closet, subtly prompting her to confirm my suspicion. However, she subtly shook her head, indicating that the intruder was not there. Understanding the danger they both faced, I directed my attention under the bed. Without a word, I gestured, and this time, she nodded almost imperceptibly. The weight of the moment was overwhelming, deciding my next move was akin to carrying the burden of the world. Thinking on my feet, I approached her calmly, requesting her cooperation and signing a routine report form to confirm my presence and the absence of anything unusual. Agreeing, she rose from the bed and stepped toward me. At that moment, I gently pushed her out of the room and swiftly drew my weapon, commanding the hidden figure to emerge from under the bed. The tension in the air was palpable as a dark figure gradually emerged. Hands first, they revealed themselves, relinquishing any weapons. The sound of something hitting the floor, a dropped gun, echoed through the room. Standing before me was a middle-aged man, clad in black attire, hands raised in surrender. Without hesitation, I made the arrest and escorted him outside, just as my fellow officers arrived on the scene. It became apparent that the woman had hung up the phone upon suspecting the intruder's presence upstairs. Fearing that the sound of the call would expose her, she refrained from answering subsequent calls. Unbeknownst to her, the intruder had entered her room, holding her at gunpoint. Instead of fleeing upon learning that the police were en route, he threatened to harm her if she made a sound. Reflecting on the incident, I am relieved that I quickly grasped the gravity of the situation. The outcome could have taken a different, potentially tragic turn if I had failed to perceive the danger lurking beneath the surface.